Right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. So let's continue on the tool called GitHub. So we were discussing about a tool called GitHub. Anyhow, you might have understood the basic objective of GitHub. GitHub is a source code management tool, and we have seen how to create an organization in the GitHub, and what is the purpose of creating organization. If you see here, we can go here and we can select organizations to see the list of organizations that we have. Okay, it is clearly showing that we have two organizations. One is ICICI Net Banking, the other one is Life Insurance Corporation. If we want to create more organizations, we can create by using new organization option. We know how to create organizations. We have seen. After creating organizations, we can, if we want to see the list of organizations, we can see here. These are the list of organizations that we had. And then how can we create repositories? We can create repositories inside an organization. If I click on organization, these are the two organizations I had. If I click on any organization, I will go inside. I will be navigating to organization. I will be navigating inside organization. Inside organization, we'll be creating the repositories. And it is clearly showing that we have three repositories here. We have created three repositories so far. If we want to create a new repository, yes, we can create. How to create a new repository? We can just click on repositories. And anyhow, we are able to see an option here called new repository. We can click on new repository and we can create any number of repositories. So we understood how to create a repository, how to create organization. After that, how to create repositories. And we have also seen how to create branches inside the repository. Suppose if this is the repository, Shaheen, how many repositories do we have in this repository? Can we see here? We have three repositories. One is credit cards, fixed deposits, and savings account. Okay, these are the three repositories we have. Suppose if I want to open a repository, just click on the repository so that the repository opens. Right? We can see the repository, right? This is the repository. And once we see, whenever we create a repository, the default branch, there will be a branch gets created. Whenever we create repository, one default branch will gets created. So this is the branch, right? We are able to see a branch called main. And this particular branch is created by default whenever we create a repository. So now currently, how many branches we have in this particular repository? 3 branches. Can we see here? We have 3 branches. If we want to see how many branches here present in this repository, we can click on this. We can see the branches, list of branches. Just click on branches and see the branches. How many branches we have totally? 3 branches are there. You can go to all and see how many branches, totally how many branches are available. One is main branch, other one is this one, PMEP, this one, okay. Other one is features as credentials. And if you have gone through the previous session, you might understood how can the developers create the feature branches. Any questions there? You have any questions? Why the developers will create feature branches and all? Hope you are very clear. If you have gone through the previous sessions, you will be very clear in understanding how the developers will create feature branches and all. Okay. So here, what are the feature branches? We can see, right? Features / credit cards, BMEP hyphen something, some number is there. These are the feature branches. So we understood how to create, how the developers create feature branches and all. Any questions here? If you want to understand like why developers create feature branches, what is the necessity of creating branches? If you have any questions, we will discuss. Maunika, you have any questions? Yeah. Hope you have gone through the sessions, right? You have any questions?
No, Vamsi. Everything is clear.
Okay. Shine, you have any questions here in understanding branching and all?
So actually, I haven't gone through the session on Fridays.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
no problem. Please go through it today.
I'll
Please
go through it
so that you will get some understanding. Okay. Once you get understanding, then if you have any questions, we will discuss. Okay.
Sure.
So I have clearly explained in the previous session that how the developers, why developers create branches and all. So usually branches are mainly for branches are mainly for the purpose of organizing the code. Suppose if a developer wants to work on a particular feature, if a developer wants to write a new functionality, so he creates a branch. He will not disturb. Suppose we have a main branch here. The main branch consists of all the code. Main branch is having all the code, all the developers who is contributing to this project, all the developers who are contributing to this project, everything will be maintained at the main level, main branch level. But individual developers, they will create individual branches and they will work towards their contributions. If some task is assigned to a developer, he will create an individual branch and he will work on that particular task and he will commit the changes to his particular branch. And we have also discussed how to create a pull request in the previous session. How to create a pull request, what is a pull request, how to create a pull request, all those things we have mentioned in the previous session. Please go through it, you will understand. Okay, today I just wanted to discuss with you some Git commands. Okay, this is actually GitHub. Usually, if I want to add any file, okay, I have 3 branches here. Consider I have 3 branches, and consider we are in the main branch. We are in the main branch, and we can see what are the files present in the main branch here. We have a file called credit card use, credit card.java, accountsinfo.java, readme.md, day7, shell script 2. These are the files that I have added. I have added some example files. I have added some example files to this repository. And particularly to which branch I have added? We can see, right? In which branch we are currently at? We are in the main branch. We are in the main branch and the main branch is having all these files. And if I want to switch from one branch to the another, how to switch? We have a drop down here. Just select here. If I want to switch to some other branch called PMEP something, yes, select that particular branch so that you will be switching to the another branch. This is how we will be navigating between the branches. If I want to go and see what is the code present in feature/credit cards, yes, select that branch. You can see here the branch name and all, in which branch we are. There are 3 branches. And currently I am in the branch called feature/credit cards. This is how we can see the code present in the branches. And if I want to add a new file, suppose consider we are in the branch called feature/credit cards. If I want to add a new file, how to add? We have an option here. Can you see? Add file, upload file, create a file, upload a file. If the file is already present in your machine, in your local machine, yes, you can upload a file from your machine. Or if you want to create a new file, yes, click on create a new file. We'll give some name. Okay, we will give some file name. I'm just adding like new file.java. And I'm writing some. I'm just adding. Usually developers add the code. I'm just adding like adding new file. If you want to commit the changes, yes, click on commit changes. Commit directly to the feature/credit branch. Okay, it is asking whether you want to commit the branch, whether you want to commit the changes to this particular branch or not. Yes. Yes, if you want to commit, if you want to give any description about this particular commit, okay, any description about this particular commit. Description in the sense, suppose if we are adding the code for deposits, if we are adding the code for withdrawals, okay, withdrawals. So anything related to that code, we can add some description here. We can commit the changes so that the changes will be committed to that particular branch. And you can see here, we are in the branch called feature/credit cards, and we have added a new file just now. We have added a new file just now, which is called new file.java. This is how we are going to add a new file. Okay, suppose if the file is already present in our local machine, consider we are in the branch called feature/credit cards. If I want to upload a new file from my local machine, here we can go here and we can just click on upload, choose your files. Okay, select your file, anything. Select your file and upload it. Okay, so we can also upload the files by using this option. Yes, these are the things that we have discussed in the previous session. Today, what I would like to discuss with you is, regarding the Git commands. Okay, Git commands. So usually, this is a remote repository. Okay, we are now talking about a tool called GitHub. Anyhow, you got the basic idea now. What is the purpose of why we are learning this particular tool? We are learning this tool because usually this tool is used for managing the source code. This tool is mainly for managing the source code in the projects. Source code is the precious asset of the project. We should not lose our source code. Why? Because developers put lots of efforts in writing the code, and we need to manage it in a very efficient manner. That's the reason why we always need to worry about managing the source code. So GitHub is kind of repository, remote. Why we are calling this as a remote repository? If someone asks you what is a GitHub, GitHub is a source code repository, but it is a remote repository. Why it is called as remote repository? It is not present in our local machine, right? Okay, this github.com, I'm connecting to github.com. I'm connecting to this particular website, github.com, so that I could able to see all these things. We are connecting to this repository by using internet connection. By using internet, I'm able to connect to this. Okay, this is a kind of website. They are provisioning. Okay, github.com is providing a provision to create an organization, to create repositories, all these things, to create a new account, all these things. So this is a remote repository. Everyone can able to access. If you provide an access, if you create a repository, and if you want to provide access to any of the members, yes, you can provide. How to provide access? Go to the settings. I have a GitHub repo. This is my repository. Okay, this is my repository. Consider Monica joins. Okay, Monica joins newly. And if I want to provide access to the Monica, how to provide access to the Monica? Let's see. We can go here. Collaborators and teams. Can you see here? There is an option here called collaborators and teams. Just click on the collaborators and teams. And it is asking password and all. Okay, I have given the password. And you see here usually how to add the people. I will just simply click on add people. I'll simply click on add people. Anyone having anyone having GitHub account created? Shaheen or Monica, anyone created the GitHub account and you have the GitHub ID?
No one, sir.
Okay. So suppose if you create an account, okay, if you go ahead and create a GitHub account, usually we can able to see your GitHub ID, GitHub username. This is a GitHub username. Can you see? What is my GitHub username? Vamsi203. Like that, once you create your account, you will see your GitHub username. And if I want to provide access to you for the repositories here, if I want to provide you the access for these repositories, how to provide? You can simply click on add people. I'll simply click on add people. So if I want to search for a person, if I want to search for an ID, okay, username, if I want to search for an username to which I would like to provide the access, I will search to that user ID. Okay. So if the user ID is user ID is here, you can see the user ID is Monica8421. Yes. I'll select that particular ID. We don't actually whose ID is this. Okay. Maybe if I'm just telling an example, like how we are going to add the people to this repository. I'm just showing like, okay. If this is the ID I would like to add, and consider this ID belongs to Monica, I will select that particular user ID. And here you can see I have many roles I would like to, if I would like to provide read access to her, yes, I will select only read access. If I want to select write access, I can select. If I want to provide maintainer access, if I want to provide admin access, anything I can select, I can add Monica to this repository so that Monica will get access to this repository. This is how we will add people. This is how we will add people to the repository so that they will get access. Any questions in adding people to the repositories? We'll go to the settings, go to the collaborators and teams, add people. You need to have the user ID, GitHub user ID of that particular user. If I want to add Shaheen, I should find out the user ID. Shaheen should tell us. Shaheen should tell me the user ID that she's created. You see here, where can we find the user ID? We go to the profile and we can see here. While creating the GitHub itself, it will ask you to set the user ID. This is how the user ID will be set and it will be displayed here. And you can share me this user ID so that I'll go to the people, add people. I will search for with that username. Okay, I'll select that particular username. If I want to provide read access, I'll select the read access. If I want to provide the admin access to Shaheen for this particular repository, yes, I can add Shaheen to this repository. I can provide her the admin access, whichever the access I would like to provide. You know what is read access? Read access in the sense, if I provide read access to Shaheen, Shaheen can only view the repositories. That's it. Shaheen can only view the repository. Shaheen can only see the code that is available inside the repository. That's it. Who wants to view? And if she wants to push any code changes, consider she is also a developer and she is going to work on some coding part. She has added some code and she wants to push her changes. Okay, if Shaheen wants to push her changes into the repository, yes, definitely we need to provide write access so that then only she can actively push the code to the project. Hope you understood what is the difference between read access and write access, right? Read access in the sense she can only view the files present in the repository. That's it. Write in the sense she can able to commit the code into the repository. And you know what is maintainer access? Maintainer access, you can see here, maintainer access is recommended for the project managers. Maintainer access is recommended for the project managers who need to manage the repository without access to the sensitive or destructive actions. See, whatever the admin is having, whatever the admin is having, right? So everything will be available to the maintainer also. The only thing is, admin can able to delete a repository, maintainer cannot do that. The only difference between maintainer and admin is, maintainer will not have any sensitive actions, deleting a repository, destructing a repository. So such kind of access will not be there for the maintainer. For admin, everything will be there. Since he created the repository, he can able to delete the repository. He can able to delete the repository. He can destruct. He can also perform sensitive operations, sensitive actions. Hope you understood the difference between maintainer and admin. Maintainer can able to delete the repositories. Admin can able to delete the repositories. Maintainer cannot able to delete the repositories. Otherwise, both maintainer and admin will have the similar kind of access. So that's how we need to understand the differences between the roles here. We can provide a read access, write access, maintainer access, admin access. And you see here one more access is there, triag. Okay, triag. So this can also be provided. You see here, if you want to understand what is triag, who need to manage the issues and pull requests without write access. Suppose if we don't want to provide write access, why? Because they are not going to push any changes into our repository. They are not going to push any code into our repository. But they want to view the pull request, they want to manage the issues, they want to view the pull request without write access. That time we can give triag access. It is nothing but a mediator access between read and write. Read access will have only view. Okay, read access in the sense like if we are providing read access to the contributors, meaning they just wanted to see the code. They just wanted to view the repository. That's it. They will not have any access to commit the code. Triag in the sense, they will not be having write access, but they will be having access to see the pull, to manage the issues and to raise the pull requests and all. They will not have write access, but they can able to view the pull request and they can able to raise the pull request. All those things they can able to perform. Okay, if you go through the previous session, you can understand what is the pull request, why we are going to raise it, why the developers will raise a pull request and all. You will understand. Okay, no worries. So these are the things that we need to understand. Okay, providing access to the repository, all these things. Similarly, consider I have created a repository and how to delete this repository. Is it possible to delete the repository if I have the access? Consider I am the admin of this repository, or otherwise I have provided admin access to any of people. They can able to delete. If I provide admin access to any of you, you can able to delete the repository. How to delete? Go to the settings. Go to the settings. And here, can you see here? Once you click on the settings, you will see you'll see all the settings options here. Go to the last, you can able to see the danger zone. You can able to see the danger zone. I was always saying like, it is our responsibility. If you create a repository, it is the admin's responsibility to protect the repository. Why? Because source code is the precious asset to the project. If we lost that, lots of efforts will gone wasted. That should not happen. So here we can able to delete the repository. Okay, people who are having admin access, they can able to delete the repository. You see here, once you delete the repository, there is no going back. You cannot get back. We cannot get back the repository. Once we delete the repository, we cannot get back. That's it. Got it? So we can click on delete the repository. You see which repository we are deleting? This is the repository I'm deleting. ICICI credit cards. This is the repository I would like to delete. If I would like to delete, I will simply click on I want to delete the repository. Okay, and it is asking for the confirmation and all. I have understood, and I have understood I'm giving the confirmation. Still it is asking like, if you want to delete the repository, confirm and give this name. If I give this name and if I click on the delete this repository, that's it, the repository will be deleted. I don't want to delete the repository, but if you want to delete the repository, this is the actual. This is how we will do. Can you see when I give the proper name, and I'm giving the proper name, yes, it is the option is getting highlighted. The option is getting highlighted and we can delete the repository in that way. You can click on delete the repository. That's it, the repository will be deleted. Okay, if you want to delete the repository, suppose if I want to delete a branch, okay, you know what is a branch and all, go to the repository. We have branches here, click on the branches. If I want to delete any particular branch, yes, we can delete. Where should we go to delete the branches? Yes, you can go here. I would like to delete the branch called feature/credit cards. How to delete? There is a delete symbol here. Can you see there is a delete symbol here? Click on delete. That's it. The repository will be deleted. Just refresh and see whether that branch will be there or not. Yes, there is no branch. There is no branch called feature/credit cards. We are able to delete. Where should you go? You should have an access. You should have an access to delete the branches also. Click on the branches and see. Earlier we had 3 branches. Now we could able to see only 2 branches. If we want to delete the branch also, we should have access. Just click on the branches and see. At the last, you will be having a delete option. You can just click on delete option and so that the branch will get deleted. This is how we will delete a branch. So we are clearly understanding how to delete the repositories, how to delete branches, all these things. These are the admin activities. If we want, we should know actually. In case if we want to delete the repositories or branches, all these things we should be aware of. And rather than knowing deleting all these things, we should know how to protect all these things. Protecting the things is very much important. Okay, protecting the things is very much important. So how to protect? We should not give any unnecessary access to the users. If a developer is working on particular repository, we should not give any admin access. We should not provide admin access to that particular user. Why? Because if we provide admin access, he can able to delete the repository. If the repository gets deleted, gets deleted, so it will be a okay. So definitely it will be an escalation, right? So the repository should not get deleted, right? So that's what I'm saying. It is always our responsibility. It is always our responsibility to protect the things. How to protect the things? We should not give admin access. We should not give admin access to the people who are working on the repositories unless and until if something is required. Okay. At any cost, we should not provide. We should not provide that kind of access, admin kind of access to them. That is how we are going to manage repositories. You see, if you want to protect the repositories, go to the settings here. We have branches, right? We have a branches. We can protect the branches. We can protect the branches in different ways. You see here, these are the branch protection rules. When I click on branches, the very first one that I could able to see here is branch protection rules. The branch protection rules, I'm just deleting the existing things. Okay. Whatever the rules that I'm having, I'm just deleting them. Consider we don't have any rule here. I'm just going into the branches. I don't have any rules here. I would like to add some rule. I just click on the add branch rule. Okay. Okay. See, we should go for protection rule. Okay. Rule set is different. We need to go for branch protection rule. So if you want to go for branch protection, okay, if you want to protect the branches, we need to go for the branch protection rule. Here we need to provide the branch names or patterns. Suppose usually if your all branches, okay, if all the branches in the repository starting with release, then you should give the pattern like release slash star. You should give the pattern like this, release slash star. If all your branches are starting with this name. Otherwise, we can also give the individual branches name. Suppose if the branch name is main, we can also give the branch name as main. If there are some other branches like feature branches, feature slash, if there is a branch called feature slash credit cards. Okay, if some developer is working on the feature called credit card, yes, we can add that particular branch here like feature slash credit card. We can mention all the branch name here so that all the branches will be protected. If someone tries to delete the branches, so that will be applied. The branch protection rule is applied. Even if someone tries to delete the branches, the branch protection rule will get applied so that the branches will not be deleted. Okay. So I'm just adding main, meaning I am adding the branch protection rule here. You see here, it is not enforced. Why it is not enforced? Can you see here? We are using a free version of GitHub. So even if we set any rules on your private repos can't be enforced. You see here, what is the information that it is showing? Rules on your private repos can't be enforced because we are using a free version. Until we upgrade to the licensed one, we cannot apply all these things. So GitHub is providing many features, but if we want to use them, we should go for licensed version. So with the community edition, we cannot use all these things. With the free version, we cannot enforce all these things. That's what the meaning of the statement. Rules on your private repos can't be enforced until you upgrade to the team or enterprise. So these are the different versions. GitHub team is one. GitHub team. Can you see here? GitHub team is one version. GitHub enterprise is the another edition. Enterprise edition, team edition, community edition. These are the different types of version. We are using a free one. We are now using the free edition. Okay, free source. Meaning if you don't need to pay anything. We are using a free organization. We have created a free organization. We don't need to pay anything. Okay. So like this, we can also go for branch protection rules and all. If you want to protect the branches at the repository level, yes. And let me show you one more thing. So this is the repository and inside this repository, I have two branches currently. One is main branch. The other one is this one, BMEP 18795. These are the two branches I have now. And if I want to clone this repository into my local machine, if I want to download this repository into local machine, what should I do? We need to use some Git commands. We should learn some Git commands. This is a remote repository. And if I want to download this repository to my local machine, we should learn some Git commands. What are the Git commands? How we are going to use them? Let's understand. Suppose if I want to use these Git commands, we should have some tool. We need to install a tool called Git bash in your machine. Okay, if this Git bash is not present in your machine, please go ahead and download it. Git bash is a terminal. You can go to the Google and search like Git bash download. Once you click on Git bash download, usually it will show the very first link here. You see, very first link, it is showing like downloads-git. Go to the downloads-git. Since we are using Windows operating system, go to the Windows. And we are using 64-bit operating system. Just click on 64-bit Windows setup. That's it. The file will be downloaded. Can you see? File is getting downloaded. The file is getting downloaded. Git 2.46.0. This is the version that got downloaded. That is getting downloaded. Once it is downloaded, you just need to give a double click on it. just give a double click on it. If you click on yes, so that the Git will be installed, Git bash will be installed on your machine. I am showing you now, okay, I would like to show you now how to install. So far, I have shown you now how to install GitHub in your machine, how to download Git bash and how to install GitHub on our machine. If you are not aware like how to download the Git bash tool, I'll tell you what is the purpose of Git bash later. But you should know, you should know how to download and how to install Git bash. Go to the Google. Again, I'm showing, go to the Google. I'm showing you like Git download, GitHub, Git bash download. What is the tool you need to search for? Git bash download. Please search for Git bash download. Just click on the very first link. Downloads. Go to the Windows. 64 Windows setup. So that the file will be downloaded. Once the file is downloaded, just give a double click on it and click on proceed. Click on next, proceed with the installation. So that the Git bash will be downloaded. Anyhow, I have already installed Git bash in my machine. That's the reason why I'm not going with the installation once again. It is a very simple thing. You just need to give a double click on it. You just need to give a double click on it so that the repository will, so that Git bash will get installed in your machine. Okay, once the Git bash is installed in your machine, how to see whether Git bash is available or not? How to see whether Git bash is properly installed or not? You can go to the start, but you can go to the Windows option here. You can see. You can go to the start button. You can click on start button and search for Git bash. Can you see? And search for Git bash. You can able to. This is the symbol usually we see for Git bash. Okay, if we are able to see this one, yes, Git bash is installed in your machine. If you are able to see this Git bash, this particular symbol like this, yes, Git bash is, you can assume, you can think that Git bash is installed in your machine. Otherwise, there is one more option also. On the desktop, you can just give a right click on the desktop. Usually we will refresh, right? How we will refresh? By giving a right click, we'll just click on refresh. Okay. In the same way, you give a right click and go to the show more options. Give a right click, show more options, so that it will show you a terminal called open git bash here. It is showing you open git bash here. It is clearly showing open git bash here. Just click on open git bash. That's it. The git bash will be will show you the GitHub. Okay. Can you see here? We are able to see. Okay, we are able to see. Just now we have opened the git bash terminal. Can you see the git bash terminal? Yes, this is the git bash terminal. What is the purpose of git bash terminal? I'll tell you. So if I want to run some git commands, we should install GitHub. We should install git bash. Git bash is a terminal which is used to run some git commands. There are multiple advantages with the git bash. Slowly you will understand, but try to understand. Since we are talking about GitHub now, if I want to run some git commands, definitely I need git bash terminal. I need a git bash terminal now. That's the reason why I have downloaded and I've installed it. Any questions so far? What is the reason why we are downloading git bash terminal? Any questions, please?
Nothing.
Okay, thank you. Now let's see. We have downloaded and installed the git bash. And suppose if I want to download the repository, okay, the same repository, where the repository is available, you know, the repository is available in the remote. Github.com. In the Github.com, I have created an organization. I created a repository. In the repository, I have the source code. In the repository, I have the source code. How many branches here we are having? Totally? How many branches I'm having here? 2 branches. I'm having 2 branches, okay? So I would like to download this repository now. So if I want to download the repository, you see, go to the repository. And once you go to the repository, you will find something like code here in the green color. In the green color, you are able to see the code here. Click on the drop down. Copy the URL. Just copy the URL. Okay, you understood, right? Go to the repository. You will see some option like code here in the green color. Go to the drop down, copy the URL, and open the git bash. I am opening my git bash terminal on the desktop. Okay, I am opening git bash terminal on my desktop. And you also know how I am opening. I'm just giving a right click, show more options, open git bash here, so that the git bash terminal will be opened. I have copied the URL, right? I pasted the URL over here. there is a command called git clone. Cloning means copying, exact copy. Clone in the sense exact copy. I am going to take the copy of the source code into my local machine. I can download whatever the source code that is available at the remote level. Whatever the code that we are maintaining at the remote level, we can download that into our local machine. So now I am going to download that particular repository to my local machine. You see git clone repository URL. This is the repository URL, and I have shown you how to get this repository URL and all. Just click on enter. That's it. That's it. The repository will be downloaded. You see where I am downloading. I am downloading it in my desktop. I am downloading it in my desktop. What is the name of the repository? Can you see? ICICI credit cards. Let me minimize and show you whether this one is downloaded or not. I am refreshing. And let me show you. Can you see here? I have a folder here called ICICI credit cards. And when it got downloaded, now only date created. You can see the date created. 16/9/2024. When it got created, 7:43. Now only, just now I downloaded this repository. Just now I downloaded this repository into my local machine. I have a repository in the remote level. If we want to download a copy of this repository into my local, yes, I can download. Usually what developers will do, developers will not directly make changes here in this repository itself. Developers will not directly make changes in this repository itself. They'll copy the URL, they'll clone the repository to their local machines. Once the repository is downloaded to the local, then they will modify the files, whatever the changes they would like to update, they will update. And again, they will push the code into the remote repository. I will show you all these things. But before I show, let me show you. See, this is the repository that I have downloaded. Even if I open this one, you can able to see all the files present in this repository. Okay. This is the repository I have downloaded. If I open this, you can able to see all the files present in the repository. Yes. Now, what is the command I have used? Shaheen, what is the command I used for downloading the repository?
Git clone.
Git clone. This is the command. All Git commands starts with
Git.
all Git commands. There are many Git commands. All the Git commands starts with Git only. Git clone is mainly for downloading the copy of repository from the remote to the local machine. This is the remote URL. This is the internet URL, right? So Github.com is a website where we are maintaining all our organization's repositories at some place. And if I would like to download, we need to give the proper URL. This is the place where I am keeping my, okay, this is my repository. Github.com is the repository URL. ICICI Net Banking is the organization name. And inside that organization, ICICI Credit Cards is the repository. This is how the URL we need to provide. You don't need to form this URL. You can directly go to the repository and you can copy the URL, copy the repository URL. Very simple. Got it? So now, once after downloading the repository, if I want to go inside this repository, usually there is a command called cd. We have learned some Linux commands, right? Basically, we have learned some Linux commands, basic Linux commands. And during that time, we have also learned a command called cd. cd stands for change directory. I would like to go inside this folder. ICICI credit cards. Yes, if I want to go inside the folder of ICICI credit cards, yes, I can give cd space ICICI credit cards. Yes. You see here earlier we were there inside the desktop. You can see the location here. We are in the desktop. We are at the desktop level earlier. Now you see after navigating to this repository, can you see here in the desktop, we are in the folder called ICICI credit cards. And you see what is the main here? Shaheen, can you see? ICICI credit cards is okay. Why? Because I have given the folder name.
Yeah.
That's the reason why cd space credit card. So I have gone inside the folder. What is this main? What is the main? Main is called branch, actually. So we have downloaded the Git repository into the local machine. This is not a normal folder. This is a
Main folder.
Git repository. This is. Got it? This is not normal folder. This is not like our normal folder. This is a Git repository. So I'm using a command called cd space, that folder name, so that we are going inside the folder. And whenever we are going inside the folder, it is automatically detecting that it is a Git repository. That's why it is clearly showing the branch name also. What is the branch name it is showing? Main.
Main.
It is clearly showing the branch name also, main. Fine. We are inside the branch name called main. I just wanted to use a command called, okay, I just wanted to use a command called branch, git branch. Okay, when I'm using a command called git branch, it is showing that main is the branch available here. So when I'm going for cd space folder name, I'm going inside the git repository, and inside the repository we have a branch called main. We have a branch called main. If I want to see the list of branches, how to see the list of branches? Git branch, if I give git branch, it will show you, it will list out the branches here. Okay. Very fine. Okay, I'm closing this one. I would like to show you few more things. I'm closing this. I would like to show you a few more things. Consider we have a remote repository here. We have a remote repository here. And we know how we have created this repository by using GUI. By using GUI, I have created a repository. Suppose I have totally how many repositories here? 3 repositories. If I want to create a new repository also, I have an option here. I can create a new repository. That is very simple. Okay. Creating a repository is very simple. Just click on create new repository. It will provide the repository name. We need to select private or public. If I want to add the README file, I can add the README file. I can create a repository. I can create a repository very easily. That is very simple. And let me go to the repository called fixed deposits. Do we have any code here? Do we have any code here in the fixed deposits repository? So we just wanted to know, is there any code here present in the fixed deposits repository? No, there is no code. There is only one file. What is the file name? readme.md. So we already discussed, like I have already mentioned that what is the purpose of this particular file. The purpose of read.md file is mainly to provide the long description about the project. I can open this file. I can edit this file. I can provide the long description about this particular repository. What is the long description? This repo contains source code related to the fixed deposits. This is what the line I have mentioned. If you want to mention a long description about this particular repository, yes, we can mention. So readme.md file is mainly for providing the long description about the repositories. I just wanted to show you in the fixed deposit folder, we don't have any particular code except the readme file. And I would like to push the code from the local machine. I don't want to add the files from here. Here we have an option anyhow. We can add, if I want to create a new file or upload the files from my local machine, yes, I can add it. But I don't want to add. I want to push the code through the Git commands. I want to push the code through the Git commands to here. How can I push the code through the Git commands? Let's see. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a new folder here. You see, I'm just creating a new folder. What developer will do? Developer will create a new folder. And inside the new folder, you see here, this is a new folder. Okay, I'm just keeping the folder name as sample. I would like to keep the sample folder name as sample also. Okay, this is the folder I've created. Can you see? Just I've given a double right click and I created a folder. In this folder, I don't have any files for now. But for now, I would like to add some files. Okay, I would like to add some files. I'm adding a new file called 1.java. And sorry, this is the folder. We should not add folder. We need to add files. Okay, I'm adding a new file. How to add a new file? Going here, new text document. New text document. Okay, so any file you can add. I'm just adding a text document. 1.java. Slowly, when we keep on moving, you will understand the things. I'm adding few more files like 2.java. I'm just adding some Java files. Okay, let's try to understand that I'm adding some Java files here. Why? Because I'm giving .java extension so that it will be considering like as Java files. So I'm also adding one more file called 3.java. I have added 3 files. I just created a folder. Consider a developer is there. What developer did is developer created a folder. And what is the folder name that he has provided? He has provided the folder name as sample. And inside the sample folder, we have only 3 files, 1.java, 2.java, and 3.java. There are 3 files. We have only 3 files. And developer wants to push these files into the remote repository. Developer wants to push these files into the remote repository called fixed deposits. Do we have any files inside the fixed deposits folder here? Do we have any files here in the fixed deposits? No.
No.
Developer, he has created some files in the local machine. He has created some folder, and inside the folder, he has created some 3 files. And he would like to push all the 3 files to the remote repository by using the git commands. How he is going to do it now? Let's watch. Okay. So first he will open the folder, and he will be opening the git bash terminal. He will be opening the git bash terminal inside the folder. Try to understand where he is opening the folder. Developer, he has created a folder called sample. Inside the sample, he is having some files. He has added some files. And he will be opening the git bash terminal inside the folder only. You should be very careful here. He's opening the terminal inside the folder only. And if developer simply give ls command, you see 3 files. Okay, it is displaying 3 files. Okay, it's showing some 3 files. So it is just a folder created by the developer, and he has added 3 files into it. The very first command that the user, okay, the developer wants to push all these files into the remote repository. If developer wants to push all these files into the remote repository, first he will initialize the repository as a Git repository. He need to run a command called git init. What is the very first command that the developer runs? The very first command that the developer runs is git init. You can see here. Whenever he runs a command called git init, what it is showing? Initialized. What is clearly showing? Like it is initialized. It has initialized the empty Git repository. Can you see here? It has initialized the Git repository. Got it, Topma? So the very first command, what is the purpose? Why the developer is running this command? We need to understand. Why developer is running this command? So far it is just a folder, and he has added some files, which he needs to move all the files into the GitHub repository. He cannot directly push all the files by using git commands. That's the reason why first he needs to run a command called git init, so that an empty Git repository will be created. Initialized an empty Git repository. So now he can run a command called git status. The very second command that he can run is git status to see the status of the files. See, earlier, I would like to show you. Once after initializing the GitHub repository only, it is showing all the files in the green. It is showing all the files in the red color. Okay, the developer ran a command called git init so that the Git repository is created. Earlier, it was a folder only. After that, an empty Git repository is created. And now he just wanted to check the status of the files. For that, he is running a command called git status. So all the files are showing in red color here. The meaning of red color means these are the untracked files. If the files are showing in red color, the files are nothing but untracked files. Developer created an empty Git repository and checking the status of the files. The files are in red color. If the files are in red color, these are untracked files. And if the files are in untracked stage, he just wanted to move a file to the staging area. The next thing is, let me show you the architecture of the Git. Okay, see, if you see this, you will understand. Let me explain this for today so that you will be very clear for tomorrow's session. So what developer is doing? Developer is writing the code. Developer is writing the code in the local machine, and he would like to push the code from local machine to. He would like to push the code from local machine to where? The remote repository. Monica, you understood, right?
Yeah, Vamsi.
Yeah, developer is writing the code, and he wants to push the code to the remote repository, which is called, what is remote repository? Which is called GitHub.
GitHub.
Okay, so he needs to follow some procedure. What is the procedure he is following? You see, first he is creating a working directory. Meaning he's creating some folder. And inside the folder, he is adding all the files. And he is using some commands like git init so that the empty git repository will be created. And he's trying to see the status of the files. He's trying to see the status of the files. And you see here, there are three types of files: untracked files, staged files, committed files. This is the architecture of the Git. We need to understand the architecture of the Git. Developer is creating a working directory and is adding all the files to the working directory. Once the files are available in the working directory, he will create an empty Git repository and he will move all the files to the staging area. Okay, he would like to move all the files to the staging area. What is staging area? Can you see? If all the files are showing in red color, the files are untracked. It is clearly showing all the files are in untracked stage. Now, if he wants to add any file to the staging area, he need to run a command called one.java.txt. Only one file. Only one file he is moving from untracked stage to staging area. Okay, if you don't know what is untracked stage or staging area, all these things, you will understand. No worries. We are understanding the architecture of the Git. If developer wants to push the code from local machine to the remote repository, he has to use some Git commands. So that he needs to follow some Git architecture. Directly, he cannot push. He will follow the Git architecture. So now we are trying to understand the Git architecture. First, developer will initiate the repository. If you don't understand, let me close this. Okay, before I close this, let me show you what is Git status. I'm running Git status one more time. Can you see here? Earlier, I ran the Git status command and all the files were showing in. All the files were showing in. Shaheen, can you see? Earlier also, we ran the Git status command. All the files are showing in red color. Now you see, after using a command called git add file name, so we are moving a file called one.java.txt to where? We are moving to the staging area. The files are in red color. We will be calling them as untracked files. If the files will be showing in green color, they will be called as tracked files. All these are the tracked files. This is a tracked file now. If I want to move all the untracked files to the tracked area or staging area, anything you can call it as. If all the files are untracked, you need to move to the files to the staging area. If the files are showing in green color, that will be staging area actually. So if I want to add all the files, I can run a command called git add dot or git add star. Meaning, what is the meaning actually? I would like to add all the files. I would like to add all the files, git add star or git add dot. The meaning is, I would like to add all the files to the staging area. If I'm running git add dot, meaning I can run a git status command. Every time we are using git status to see the status of the files. Earlier, we moved only one file to the staging area. If I would like to run if I would like to move multiple files at a time, if I would like to move all the files at a time, I can use a command called git add dot or git add star. So it is clearly showing these are the files that has been moved to the staging area. All these files are moved to the staging area. Try to understand the architecture. First of all, developer will write the code in his local machine and his aim is to move the code to the remote repository. If he wants to push the code to the remote repository, he cannot directly push the code to the remote repository. He will follow an architecture of Git. We are understanding the architecture of the Git. First, working directory will be there. He will create a folder which is called as working directory. And he will create an empty Git repository by running a command called git init. Once he runs the git init command, an empty Git repository will be created. And if he runs the git status command, he can able to see the status of the files. Usually, that time all the files will be shown in which color? Once after creating a git init command, once after creating a Git repository, all the files will be shown in which color? Untracked, red color. If the files are showing in red color, that is untracked stage. What is the architecture? He need to move all the untracked files to staging area. What is the command he is running for moving all the files from untracked stage to staging area? Git add dot, git add star. These are the commands he is using. So once all the files are moved to the staging area, he need to move the file from staging area to the local repository. LR stands for local repository. LR. Okay, working directory, the staging area to local repository. From the local repository, he has to move to the files. he has to move the files to the remote repository. This is the architecture actually. We will understand tomorrow. In the tomorrow session, we will clearly understand again the architecture of the Git. How the developer is creating the files and he's moving the files to the remote repository. All the Git commands we will be understanding tomorrow. Any questions in today's session?
Nothing.
Thank you very much. Okay, yeah, please. Okay, thank you all. Okay, people are waiting for another session. Thank you all. Let's meet tomorrow for the next one. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Vamsi.